Good day, everybody. It's the 20th of August, 2025. It is Monday, and I think, what is it, 2:20? Yeah. You go see some kids playing in the leaves there. Mom, what's she doing, taking photos? I don't know. Really nice day here in Minsk right now. It's not super cold. Oh, here, I think I've never showed you guys the name. This is a Soviet restaurant. Lots of guys watching me. I don't know. People don't have selfie sticks, I guess, here in Minsk that much. Everybody's doing a lot of photographing and things with their cameras, but not using selfie sticks. Okay. So, you all heard about what's going on in the Middle East, I'm sure by now. The bombing is on again. I pretty much kind of said that yesterday. Oh, that's, you can get inside there. I guess that's maybe an area for taking doggies to go pee pee poo poo. Look at the nice colors of the leaves. So let's talk about that. That's a lot of the news today. Incredible. Yeah, what a good. Can't see anything because of the leaves. Can't see where there's a root or something sticking up. See if that bench. Nobody's sitting on the bench for right now. Oh, that guy's not going that way. Okay, so not just these massive bombing runs, and I guess at times, let me walk over here first. At times they were like having 20 bombs dropped within a matter of 2 minutes. Incredible. They said 20 strikes. And there's people with videos out, Palestinians, and they show the whole skyline with nothing but big mushroom cloudy fumes coming up from inside of Gaza. Yeah, great. And I guess one of the reasons why, there was supposed to be some kind of an explosion, and it turns out that it was a bulldozer, probably maybe an Israeli bulldozer in maybe the yellow zone in Gaza, and it hit an unexploded ordnance of Israel, something that dropped from the air and it didn't explode. When the bulldozer hit it, it exploded. And of course they said that Hamas was bombing or something, or some kind of an attack. So obviously, to some it might look like that, but you should have done an investigation before you started dropping massive amounts of bombs all over on the Gazans. But that was just one incident. They have other incidences as well. They were even bombing refugee camps, just bombing incredible refugee camps. So you see a lot of these ladies crying, and they got their toddler children dead in their arms, and they're crying. And it's something that we've been seeing for the past 3 years. If you've been watching all of this stuff, matter of fact, it's going on for a lot more than 3 years. Israel's bombing Palestinians. It seems to be like a big tradition. It's like Christmas for them, I guess. Oh my, I don't know. It's nasty to be even talking about this stuff, but I tell you what, when you hear this stuff, the rest of you out there, it's not like, I don't want to watch this guy's channel because he's talking about all of these people getting bombed out and all this killing and all this sort of thing. But they have that theory of yin and yang, and for there to be good, there has to be evil, and vice versa. And when you hear a lot of this bad news, a lot of this makes you think of your life. Those of you that watch this, most all of you, I do believe, realize that nobody's bombing you and killing your children, and it adds a little bit of balance. So I guess yin and yang is actually, it shows a balance, and in an effect, that's harmony. That's world harmony. As bad as it does sound, harmony does not always necessarily mean nice music and everybody singing in tune or things like that. But like I said, when they say for you to recognize good, there has to be evil. So That's like what I say, the bad part about it all. Bad and the good. So you'll realize that you have it pretty good when you see how much bad is going on in the world as well. You know, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but that's just a philosophy. Yes, but it's not only the Israeli government that's getting involved in this. There's somebody's taken the bench. I guess I got to keep walking through here. It was such a nice day and a lot of these nice leaves. I didn't want to be sitting on a bench and just showing you guys one view the entire time, but you know how it is. I guess I'll just be walking around. There's not many people around to, you know, and I've got these nice leaves. It looks much better in my eye here when I'm looking at you, or looking at all this, than it was just looking at me. That's why I said then you guys can see on the camera, so, or the video. God, I'm getting distracted in my own thoughts here. Okay, let me kind of read so I know that I can keep on my talking points and not sound like I'm like a Joe Biden or something like that. But anyway, there's a lot of these Israeli settlers, and I tell you what, a lot of times, and this is evidence of that, they're much worse than even the IDF. Of course they're not as worse than mass killings, but their brutality, because you're looking at them, they're right there in front of the Palestinian people, you know, face to face, and you see these people and see this hatred. So in a sense, it's even worse than you see how the Ukrainians, they've been conditioned or indoctrinated, or whatever the words you want to use is, for their entire lives to hate Russians. They've been told since small children to hate Russians. You will hate Russians. The Russians, all evil in the world comes from the Russians. And of course they're doing this sort of thing in the Baltic states and in Poland. And I was even raised to a certain extent that way myself. But of course we are far away from Russia in the United States, so they didn't start on us in very young ages. They started us maybe, well, I don't know. You caught some of this stuff in the news and all that. You don't really understand what's going on when you're a lot younger. You know, you're a young person and you don't really understand the issues and things like that. And I didn't really, you know, it didn't really come home to me so much for a long time. How old was I? I don't know. I would even be embarrassed to say that I was like maybe 30 years old or whatever, to start to realize that I was just fed a bunch of bullshit my whole life. Oh, the Russians are evil or whatever. I don't even know when that came about, but I'm sure that in the 1980s, at some point I was realizing that. I remember, come to think of it, I remember when we had, I was in anti-terrorist training, a certain type of driving, you know, where you're doing like driving stunts that you see in Hollywood and all that. And I was with some of these guys. One guy was a Navy SEAL, and some of these other guys I don't really know. And so that was because we're driving, a lot of driving, like VIPs, generals and things. That's mostly what I was doing anyway. And at that time. And we had a class that followed us. It was the Iranians, you know, the drivers and things for like Ayatollah Khomeini and things like that. And the guy from the Navy SEAL, you know, he was ready to just jump over there and start. And they had nicer cars than we did. They had nicer Mercedes and things. We had a couple of Mercedes, a BMW, and I don't even remember, maybe another couple of cars. I don't even remember how many of us there were, maybe 15 or 10 or something like that. And yeah, but anyway, they got better cars and stuff. And they were mostly being trained by the Iranians. We were being trained by, kind of like stunt drivers and things like that. But the Iranians, I guess maybe they wanted to train their own people. But I remember even after that time, we had some Russian high generals or something come to visit my boss, who was the highest general in all of Germany and most of Europe. And he came, you know, and they had their people, and they were like on guard right outside the door and all that. And I remember then I didn't like the Russians or something back then. I was, you know, because we were kind of indoctrinated, like I said. So that was back in about 1986. So I know that by that time I was still a dummy. But anyhow, just to let you know, I'm trying to figure out, when did I wake up? I don't even remember. Maybe it's just a gradual process. Maybe the same with all of you out there. I don't really know. So, okay, but it's kind of the same thing. These people here, they think that, I don't know what they think of the Palestinians. And as you all can see, it's going to be very difficult to get any kind of a peace for a long term, even in between Ukraine and Russia. Now, the Russians aren't conditioned to hate the Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians are conditioned to hate the Russians, to hate everything Russian. Anything that has anything to do with Russia or Russian, you will hate it. You will hate it. They're all evil and this and that. They're inferior, all that sort of thing. And I can tell you, other things, but I don't want to get into more stories. But let me see. But anyway, a lot of these settlers, and one chased, let me see where I even wrote that one down. They were chasing these farmers out of their olive groves. And this time it was in Gaza, but they had these things going on the West Bank as well in just the past 24 hours since I did my last video. It's unbelievable. But anyway, in Gaza, they chased these people out of their olive orchards, and there's like a big band of settlers there. Maybe they had sticks with really hard, you can tell by looking at it, because there was an American there and he was filming it, and his name, let's see, was Jasper Nathaniel. And so they were running them out of their olive orchards. I don't know, what is a large band? I mean, it looked like at least 10 of them, 10 settlers. I don't know how many Palestinians. Also, there might be 10, but you're not allowed to hit an Israeli. If you hit an Israeli, then you go to prison for a long time. But if an Israeli kills a Palestinian, you don't go to prison at all. I'm just letting you know that's what the laws are. Because they always have some extenuating circumstances to let them out. I don't know if it was pertaining to the IDF or to all Israelis that no Israeli or no IDF has ever spent one day in prison for killing a Palestinian. Something like that. So it lets you really know how, and these people, basically you have to let yourself get beat up. Anyway, they beat a woman, and I don't know if they killed her or if she was just unconscious, but she was definitely down and couldn't move. They chased her and were hitting her with this really hard, it looked like a very hard wood stick, heavy stick, and they were smashing her on the head, and they were hitting these people in the body. And I mean, there's so many films, so much film footage out just in the past 24 hours. Trust me, the past 24 hours of Israelis just beating and chasing down Palestinians. Oh, you're not going to hear that in the mainstream news, are you? Oh no, they're still committed to the peace. So anyway, that's about that woman there. So after that American filmed that part, somebody was filming him. He was in a car, and he kept telling them to stop. I don't know, maybe some Christian guy, maybe he was an American Jew, I don't know. But anyway, he was telling them to stop, and he was in a car, so he was lucky at that time, and he was telling people, get in the car, and they were still being chased. So there was a lot of them chasing him. Somebody was chasing or was filming him from the front side where he was driving on this bumpy, like, dirt road. And what they did, it was the IDF. The IDF staged this, unfortunately, because they did see soldiers on there too, and they ran them. It was a trap. They trapped them, and they ran them into even more settlers. So you see his car getting all beat up, hitting with these hard sticks, and then they burned his car, this American guy. So yes, but anyway, that's on video. You can find that somewhere, I'm sure. If I could do that. See, I think I saw this on Telegram, and I don't know. It's for some coincidence, maybe it is Microsoft or whatever. They don't let you take these things off of Telegram or whatever, and at least me, I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb, tech dumb or something like that, tech challenged, and I can't get these things to put them on my YouTube videos. So anyway, so they caused a lot of destruction, killed. I mean, I think they're probably, smashed up more than just his car, probably any kind of shelters and things they had there, like maybe sheltering when it's raining and all that sort of thing, breaking up everything. And another incident, the settlers attacked a Christian village in the West Bank, not in Gaza, in the West Bank. And they smashed it up really bad, caused a lot of destruction, and they blocked the entrances. Nobody can get in and nobody can get out. So no entrance, nobody leaving. And they showed them, that was even on video, a lot of it. They have a lot of these like big flatbed trucks, not just much bigger than a pickup truck, you know, like I don't know, maybe 5 ton or whatever. And they climbing up on it and dancing and celebrating that they, you know, of all the maybe that they might have even killed some people. A lot of people were killed also in the past 24 hours. Of course, they're all Palestinians. Oh, but they're the ones that are the bad guys, and they're the ones that broke the ceasefire and stuff like that. Wow. Oh, yeah, these Israeli settlers, they were escorted by the IDF. Isn't that incredible? And when at the beginning of the that big trap that they set for them, I think what was a village called Tulif or city or whatever, they were escorting them and then they left, and then they probably were leaving to go and inform those other people that the rabbits were entering the trap or something like that, so that they can, you know, beat them again some more. I don't know if many people or any people, except maybe that lady died, I don't know, but a lot of people definitely were badly beat up. And the guy's car burned, and yeah. So where this ceasefire has made the yellow line boundary, if you guys saw the maps, and it's so you have this Gaza, you know, it's kind of like a sort of a rectangular sort of a, well, they call it the Gaza Strip, and so they split it into zones, and they have something called the yellow zone, and the yellow zone. So I'm going to try something here in this. Oh, maybe it works. The yellow zone, or the yellow line, or whatever, and that is so that anyway they're pushing all the Gazans into like the small enclave, the smaller part, and then like 60% of it. Is that a fire truck? Fire truck over there. Maybe it's a drill. Anyway, so, and then they're pushing probably most all the Gazans into that certain area. I think they told them to go west. I'm not positive. But, and then it looks like now, what other people have not yet put out, I don't think, but I've noticed this, and I think other truth activists or other people, definitely they're seeing this. So what Israel is doing now, they're bringing a lot of concrete in and things, and it looks like they're going to make a semi-permanent boundary right there. It's just like the boundary between Gaza and Israel. So they're going to make a boundary there, and so the new Gaza is going to be like 40% of what the old Gaza was. I'm just guessing this, but I highly suspect that, because it looks like they're making permanent boundaries. They're bringing in trucks filled with, you know, bags of cement and things, and builders, and probably going to be making checkpoints again. And it's not very nice to hear this stuff anyway. Yeah. Okay. So this new boundary, I don't know. It's taking probably at least 60% of Gaza, and they're probably going to annex that into Israel. Surprise, surprise. And I think that's contrary to the peace agreement. But as you know, Israel can do anything they want to do, and they can get away with anything, as you all know. Oh no, I love that luminescence from the sun coming through over here, over the left shoulder, and then through these leaves. I'll tell you something about photography. Even though it's kind of bad to be filming, you know, you want the warm light, the morning light or the evening light a lot of time, and you want to have the sun over one of your shoulders. You don't want it behind you necessarily. You know, if you have to have it, you know, I guess that's it. But you know, it's not so good most of the time unless you're doing something artistic, if the sun is going to be in front of you. But over one shoulder, it looks it's actually the best way. You know, you can get the best lighting, but it's with these digital cameras, I don't know, maybe it doesn't come across as well. I don't know, you guys have to tell me. With a regular camera, because you can adjust the lighting a little bit, and it comes out really beautiful. I did a lot of photography, and a lot of people you know, I did get hired and things like that for doing things, and you know, people weddings, all that kind of stuff. But you know, like a lot of times, what was it, dolls and puppets, you know, people that were artists, you know, filming their dolls and their puppets and things like that. I did a lot of that, you know, made in the, what is it, the arts section of big cities. I made it on the front page and things like that, and even did some, what do you call it, things where they speak to me and the artist at the same time, and a lot of people show up, and all, you know, but that was the old days. I did a lot of good things in the old days. And I'm a shadow of my former self. So so let's see. So I don't know, does anyone think that area is ever going to go back? I don't even know if Donald Trump will be able to get them to make that area go back. Hey, that bench is free. Maybe I can go there now. And sun is behind a cloud. Oh, there's a lady heading that way. I tell you what, I'll bet you she's going to grab the bench. You guys want to play some bets right now? See this lady with the purse? She's kind of got a strange walk. I don't know if you can see her in the distance. It's too much. There you go. Let's see if she's going to go for the bench. She's going to go for the bench. What are the odds? 10 to 1? Anyway, so the Financial Times, they're putting, oh, she didn't go for the bench. Wow. The Financial Times is putting out what is, you know, it's the news itself is probably somewhat true, but they definitely exaggerated to the point of it being fake news. You know, they were basically trying to say that Zelensky and Trump were having a big argument and a shouting match again or something like that, and Donald Trump is saying to give the entire Donbass to Russia, and you know, like I said, it's it's highly probable that he did say something on those lines, but he definitely was not shouting at it and demanding it. He was probably saying, you know, you're going to either do that or you're going to lose your country. I don't know. It makes you really wonder how much pressure old Donny boy is going to be able to put on old Vladimir when it comes after this summit with Russia. Maybe it's going to happen before the summit. Russia just put out some message that said there's going to have to be a lot of homework is going to have to be done before Trump and Putin meet. So maybe that's part of that homework. Okay, again, it's kind of like over the shoulder. If it was something good, it would be better this way. Skies would be bluer and things like that. If you have a polarizing filter on whatever kind of a camera you have, then you can kind of twist it and make really deep blue skies if that is what you want. So let's see how this works, how the blue is from different angles. So moving towards the sun there, not so good. So anyway, it might work differently with digital and autofocus and things like that. So it's kind of a new world. I guess I'm old school. You know, I had one, you got to have a light meter, a hold in your hand light meter a lot of time, and you know, you have to focus it yourself, and you know, you have to set the f-stop and the shutter speed and all that sort of a good stuff, and I got used to that. So a lot of this other stuff and all these words and stuff I don't even understand. I have a very good camera. I have a Sony A7 III, and all of the terminology and all of the stuff I don't even really understand at all. And the menu, thousands of things, you know, and pushing the little button, and you know, going all over the place trying to find out all this crap in the menu. You know, it's supposed to be making this, some guy pissing over there against the building. You don't know if you guys can see it. And what is it? He's wearing a red jacket over there. But anyway, I don't know about this crap, but let's keep going on this other stuff. Stop interrupting me. Anyway, this stuff is all fake news and stuff. They're just trying to, you know, making news, you know, so that they can sell papers and stuff. Oh, everybody, it's all over in the Russian press. They're talking about this, you know, and I don't know if they're acting as if it's true, because it certainly isn't true. But anyway, so, but as I said, I think the word is out. I don't know if this is a leak, but apparently Putin will allow Kherson, you mean what Ukraine actually has right now in Kherson, and Zaporozhye, he will let that stay with Ukraine. And what Russia has will stay as a part of Russia. And that will be the new boundary then. So they do not plan on taking all of Kherson and Zaporozhye. But Donbass, and of course, most all those people, even in Kherson and Zaporozhye, are, I think, speaking Russian, and definitely all the Donbass people are, but also is Odessa. And it's going to be, if there is going to be a peace, and I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of Russians really pissed off, because most all Russians know that Odessa is a Russian city. And if a peace comes about and Odessa does not become a part of Russia, there's going to be some really pissed off people. And you might even throw Kharkiv in there too, because that's also a Russian city. As a matter of fact, if you want to be a little bit more technical, Kiev is a Russian city. And the only Ukrainian cities are westward of, and of course, somewhat to the south, but not as far south as Odessa. That's maybe the real Ukraine. And as you all know, Stalin and Lenin and Khrushchev, they took a lot of parts from other countries and other jurisdictions and gave it all to Ukraine, at various times. And Ukraine is trying to make their people think that it was always that way, and it was bigger. It was much bigger. It's stretched all the way into Russia. That was the real Ukraine, which is, it's like, huh? It was only 1954. I guess I thought that Crimea belonged to Russia in 1953. Well, maybe I was mistaken. So, anyway, I don't know. They can pull that off. Maybe they can pull that off. If it was 50 years from now. But it doesn't work right now. There's too many people that were around, and they know that was part of Russia. So anyhow, keep going, Duke. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm sure that Donald Trump was somehow trying to talk to Zelensky and get him out of his fantasy world. And then Zelensky, I guess, to American press is saying, they were asking something about who's winning and who's losing. And he was saying that Ukraine is not losing and Russia is not winning. He's like trying to say, we are winning and Russia is losing. But he didn't want to come right out and say it, the open way, because then it sounds ridiculous. Because I think right now Russia is just, I think there's two major cities or towns. I don't know if you call them, just say villages, big villages or something, that Russia's just about to take over. And one, they've already got half of it. And I guess that's a major village. So, Zelensky's I don't know if people are feeding him bad information or if he's just doesn't watch the news or anything himself. I have not the faintest idea. So the Houthi, they detained some United Nations workers and let go about, I think, 16 of them, but 20 of them they're holding. And it turns out there's very, very, very strong evidence that these 20 are Mossad and CIA agents. So that's really not so good for those people. And, a lot of these agencies and churches, and I said, I keep wanting to say Greenpeace, the Peace Corps. And the Peace Corps, I don't know if the Peace Corps uses spies that much, but they used to have spies and then go into other countries and, people in the intelligence agencies. But like I said, I know that they put them in churches. I think I might have mentioned once there was a Catholic priest in the country that I was living in. He was a priest, but he wasn't very interested in religion, I tell you what. And it turns out, because I even met the guy and talked to him, and he didn't know any that I could put two and two together or something. And before that, he was in the military, and he was a muscular guy, and he spent all of his time, as I can tell you this right now, in light of what's going on, when you see these drug boats and things like that, and these actual speedboat things that Donald Trump is blowing up. And yesterday, I'm not trying to tell you that all of them are fishermen, but I tell you what, some of them are fishermen, and maybe the boats are kind of different as well. And he's definitely killing some fishermen, but I'm sure that some of them actually are drug dealers. I mean, people running drugs, because they were doing that I'll tell you what, they were growing, and this is I mentioned that book again, Hidden Agendas. I said it yesterday, John Pilger, and he's mentioning that. But they were growing, mostly then it was marijuana for most of the time, especially the time when he was writing about it in this book. And the United States would destroy the marijuana from this country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They would come every November and they would burn them. They would have incendiary helicopters and burn, but these people that were there, the people guarding the drugs, and most of them were not from St. Vincent at all. They're from like Barbados or whatever. And they're guarding the drugs with machine guns. So the United States would come with these, Navy ships, and they had these their helicopters with incendiary devices, and they would fly over and burn the marijuana fields because they competed with the marijuana of the United States, that they were growing back then in Panama and Colombia and places like that, and probably still do, as a matter of fact. I have some evidence that at least I know that back in like 2016 they certainly were, the United States, but of course they switched over mostly into growing, doing cocaine. It was more business. You guys, if you remember that stuff with Iran-Contra affair and Oliver North, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, it was figured out, that the United States was doing some nasty stuff down there. And to get around a lot of that, in order to get, but they were using taxpayer money to pay for black ops, to be, running assassinations. And that's exactly what that was about. The money that was coming from American taxpayers was used to assassinate leaders of other countries, such as, Iran, Mossadegh, and in Guatemala and places like that, and, the Noriega thing and all that. So what America did is they went into the drug trade. So they instead, because they can't use America, because it was already up the cat's out of the bag. So we got to find a way to get money to run these black ops. So what they were doing is they were selling drugs. And, they were with marijuana and all that sort of thing. And of course, it became much more lucrative to be using it with, cocaine. And so a lot of the cocaine that comes into America is run into America by the United States. It's by the U.S. government. It's absolutely, it's like, what? Why would we do something like that? But as I think that movie, and probably they don't want to do any promotion of that movie. I think it's called American Made with Tom Cruise. That goes into that a lot. And Tom Cruise, the character he was playing, I got so much money. They started banks all over, one bank next to the other, all down the street. Most of the businesses were banks. They weren't anything else. And he was burying money in the backyard, in suitcases, and putting it in lockers. So the whole thing was, what do we do with all this money? This money that we're making from drugs and running terrorists into Arkansas, where Billy Clinton was the governor. It's absolutely, it's amazing that they let a movie like that even come out. And they even arrested him, with drugs or weapons and, and stuff like that. And they took him before the Attorney General, this is in the movie, of Arkansas. And I think she said, I'm going to peel the skin off you. That's probably real quotes that they're using in this movie. And then while she's in there, the secretary comes and whispers in her ear, kind of like what they do to Donald Trump or something like that. And she had to take a call from Governor Clinton, it was what it was. And she comes back in and says, release him. So anyway, they had to let him go because, it's the United States doing that. Incredible. I mean, they're running training the terrorists and all that sort of thing. Wait a minute. Bill Clinton is a Democrat and Reagan is a Republican, and they're kind of fighting each other. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, you guys all know, but they do work together, It's just like, they're in competition. Who hates the Russians the most, the Democrats or the Republicans? Anyway, so where are we at here till I got off on a tangent again? But the Houthi and all that sort of stuff, and a lot of those spies and things like that. Oh man, there's so many spies. I'll tell you what, whenever you hear of anything of somebody being accused of being a spy and all that sort of thing from a foreign government, and the United States denying it, I'll tell you what, who you believe? You believe that foreign government. Those people were spies. 99 times out of 100, they are spies. I've been arrested a few times, and I've been accused of being a spy. I've been, put in jail for a while and things like that in foreign countries. And I was no spy. I was a service, you know, I had a special passport. Mine was not blue, didn't have a blue cover. Mine had a green cover and all that. So, you know, every time I went somewhere, these people looking at my passport, they were asking me if I'm some kind of a diplomat or whatever. But anyway, I wasn't. And anyhow, I was just on vacation as a soldier, you know, and then I traveled like into maybe the Middle East a little bit and all that. I had a Eurail pass, and you know, then somebody makes some accusation on you. Some guy that he wanted to kind of manipulate me. I was actually on my way out. I was at the border getting out of Morocco, and then some guy said something, and he called me, "You're a spy, you're a Jew." And I said, "And you're an asshole." And anyway, he must have, you know, complained to somebody, and then they put this chalaba on me, you know, really hot wool winter chalaba, made me stand out in the sun, you know, while you know, these people came and ferried me to some other town, and you know, and they didn't speak English, nobody, so they found some other policeman from a different town to interrogate me in German, and you know, I was in a jail cell. They opened up everything I had and did, I mean, anyway. But anyway, there's more to the story than that, but anyway, that's a different story. Oh, Sonny, I can tell you a lot of stories of the old days. Okay, but so what happened there? I guess 20 of them they're holding. I wouldn't even know that all of them are spies, but obviously a lot of them. And they said CIA and Mossad, and they probably are 100% right. It's not like the Houthis are stupid. So these are probably CIA and Mossad, and then they're in these organizations a lot. And 16 of them are foreign nationals. And they were representing, supposedly, UNICEF and UN World Food Aid. I know somebody that worked for UNICEF, and he worked directly for the Bishop of Ghana. So the Bishop of Ghana, at that time, I don't know if it still is, he was the one in charge of UNICEF, and the Catholic bishop, by the way, of Ghana. And you know, he knew him, and this friend of mine, he worked through a lot of the, you know, bishops, Catholic bishops. The Catholics were very, maybe still are, very, very much involved in UNICEF. But he might know. They do illegal things, and he told me about some things like that too. And but he never said anything about. By the way, he was arrested and put in prison for quite some time for smuggling. And it turns out he was being used as a, well, he was being used as a what do you call it? Not a scapegoat. What's that? A patsy, you know. But anyway, this guy, he and I go way back, way back. He was in the British military when I was in the American military, and he was up in the north. And he's the same guy that I was telling you guys about. His job, one of his jobs, was the inventory of Great Britain's nuclear weapons on Larbrook Air Base. So he was to, you know, very easy job. You just go and you count them. And they told the world press that Great Britain had removed all of their nuclear weapons out of Germany. And he said, well, that's strange because they're all still here in Larbrook, you know, all of those, you know. Gosh dang. I could tell you some stories, but anyway. I know you guys will like them, but you know, some people don't like them, so I just have to keep going on this stuff. Okay, when a reporter says this stuff is on video, you can't even believe it. I don't know, it's kind of like a clown world. You can get a hold of Alex Cristoforo. By the way, he had a really good clown world talking about who is this chip maker. It was a Chinese chip maker, Navita or something, Nexpera or something like that. It's a Chinese company, and they had like a lot of corporate offices in Holland, and Holland thought, we'll seize this company. They said Holland, I don't know, the subsidiary, I don't know. Anyway, they seized it, and they made a mistake. They forgot, you know, that they're going to make all this money, and that they got the company, they got the corporate offices and all of this stuff, everything. But they made one mistake apparently, and I guess this was at the behest of the United States telling them to seize this Chinese company. And it turns out, you know, that's probably why it went wrong, because if they would have done it themselves, they wouldn't have made this mistake. But the United States ordered them, and you know, they didn't. The United States didn't say, well, make sure that there's production facilities in Holland, and it turns out there wasn't. So they got the company, but they didn't get any of the chips or any of the machines to make the chips. So all they got is a bunch of jobs. What are they going to do? Just pay all these salaries for people that do absolutely nothing at all? I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So it's just a bunch of overpaid, a bunch of bureaucrats. Of course, they released all the Chinese ones, and then they put their own in charge, you know, like a Dutch CEO and all that sort of stuff. So then they probably sat down and said, okay, now let's go. We don't have any chips. They're all made in China. Do you think the Chinese are going to send them any chips after they seize the company from them? Man, what a clown world. But anyway, another clown world is this one. These reporters are talking to Donald Trump, and they said, this isn't this funny, this Alex Cristoforo. Damn him anyway. But anyway, they're talking to Donald Trump about is the ceasefire in jeopardy now that Israel, after these bombings? And Donald Trump says, what bombings? Huh? Hit what? Where? That's what he said. What? Where? You know, it makes you wonder. So Donald Trump obviously has handlers. He has handlers, media handlers, and they make sure he doesn't get a lot of information. And this isn't the first time. This has happened before. He said, oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Can you imagine the President of the United States? No, this is the first time. He's not a Joe Biden, by the way. Now, Joe Biden, you can understand that he went in one ear and out the other ear. But Donald Trump, supposed to have all of his faculties with him. First time I've ever heard about this. Can you imagine? He just brokers a ceasefire, and not even a week later, Israel's already breaking the ceasefire. And then, of course, they called Hamas as the guilty party. I mean, I get angry when I think about that. I don't even want to think too deeply about that. The fact that you have all these dead Palestinians. Oh no, but it was the Palestinians that broke the ceasefire. And sickening stuff. Anyway. But anyway, apparently immediately after that, but only for a short time, Donald Trump told Netanyahu to again open up the borders. Otherwise they had everything frozen, no aid coming in. I think they had it closed off, all of Gaza, not just the Rafah or the Ramallah or whatever. They had it all closed, so they weren't letting anything come in. And as you know, a lot of this aid is being blocked. The Israeli settlers, again, they're going out there, and all they have to do is just stand in front of there. One guy was standing there with his baby carriage. He's got a baby, possibly a baby in the carriage, and he's just going back and forth over the road, and there's a whole line of trucks. You see maybe 10 or 15 aid trucks, and somebody's filming this guy, and you know how clever they are. They're just sitting there smiling that they're blocking the aid getting into Gaza. I mean, what a bunch of lovely people, to make sure that they can do the most they can to starve those. I tell you, sickening stuff anyway. And like I just did my little rant a little bit earlier, about how they indoctrinated and conditioned the Ukrainians. And of course, I'm sure that a lot of these people in Israel, they were indoctrinated the same way. Their chief goal in life is to have hatred, is to be filled with hatred towards other groups. What a world, I guess that's strength is our diversity or something. I don't know. So, yeah, and I already mentioned that Israel bombed a refugee camp. A lot of children killed. The one with the woman with the little toddler, that was really terrible. And I told you about that other one too, that it turned out it was hitting the ordnance. Yes, in another attack, Israel killed 11 people, 7 of them children, and that's in another attack. I guess that must have, I didn't write it here, it's probably in Gaza. I don't know, but they do attacks regularly in the West Bank as well. It's just a way of life, unfortunately, for Palestinians, and it has been that way even before I was born, where the Israelis, they can do whatever they want to them, and Palestinians are not allowed to, this famous word by the Israelis, self-defense. But Israel is allowed to attack somebody and call it self-defense. But if you use real self-defense against Israelis doing something to you, then it is criminal, and then you either get killed or you go to jail because you're a bad person. So there. Wow. So Germany, they also just, this is the last little piece of just news from anything. Germany placed another order of F-35 fighter jets, this time 15. And they already have on order 35. I don't know, how many do they have now, or do they have any? I'm sure they must have some, but they have, I think at the moment, Tornadoes, you know, and I think a lot of these things like what Rafale or whatever the thing that the French have, not very good fighter jets, Tornado, a lot of them, they're just way outdated. And you know, the F-16 is possibly still one of the best airplanes in the United States. When you, all things considered, it's probably better than the F-35. But you know, there are definitely a lot of things about the F-35 that are very good, is from what I've been hearing. And you know, and maybe comparable, you might say the F-22 is also very good. I don't know about the F-18 Hornet or whatever, maybe those are good. I'm not a big knowledgeable person on fighter jets or much of anything in the military, only the things I've used back then, and I'm not even a big expert on those, you know. Everybody knows their friggin' F-16. Or M16, excuse me, F-16. That's a fighter jet. Maybe I should have traded my M16 for an F-16 if I could have. So, which one is further down on the alphabet? So, the M must be better than the F. So I'll take the F. You can give me the F-16. Should have said that. Anyway, Germany, like I said, so they're going to have 50 altogether, at least from what this message said. I don't know if they have any already. You know, the F-35 has been around a lot. But that's very strange. As you know, Israel has F-35s. I don't know about other countries if they already have them already, but of course Israel has priority because they're the chosen people. So they're chosen. They get to choose. So they get the F-35s first. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Incredible. Anyway, everybody, that's about all I have for news for today. It's not really that much. What do I have here? I stretched it out to 46 minutes. Maybe there are other parts of news, but I don't know. Some things are pertinent. Some things are not. There is other news. I know there is. There was other things I wanted to actually do kind of reports about. I don't get around to doing it, so maybe I should have just made a little short, because there was a lot of information. I don't even remember what the topics were, to be honest with you. Have a little bit of Joe Biden in me right now. You know, at least I know what city I'm in. Anyway, and I can find the bathroom at night. I can find the bathroom when I get up at night. So I think Joe had a hard time to do that. At least that's what Secret Service were always saying. And I don't wear nappies. I don't think I do. Anyway, so anyway, people, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. So bye bye.